Hi guys, it's Jeff here, the photographer's mentor, and in this session we're going to go live with Claire Bignell, who is a creative copywriter. Now, you've probably met Claire before because I have done a live with Claire in the past, but today we're going to be talking about blog writing blogs for your photography website, but not just any old blogs that actually entertain and engage your readers and ultimately get more subscribers to your email list and more click-throughs to your website, because blogs are a fantastic way of actually driving traffic to your website, connecting with a potential client, answering their questions and building relationships. So if you do have a blog, if you actively create blog content for your website, just let me know in the comments. So just tell me, do you have a blog? Are you currently blogging? And be honest, when was the last time you updated your blog? I don't mind admitting that I've took a bit of time over the past year getting some blogs out, and I've actually now got Claire on the case doing my blogs for me. So I record videos, I put video content onto YouTube, and then Claire heads over, checks out the video content. I give her some more supporting material, and then she writes that for me as a blog post. And then we include images. We optimize it for SEO to get more click-throughs to the website, because ultimately that's what I want. I want people to sign up to my email list, and that's what you need to be doing as well. Because remember, if you've got your LinkedIn profile, if you've got your Facebook, you've got your Instagram, you don't own that. That doesn't belong to you. That is the platform who owns your connections and your profile. So one of the best ways is to have a blog to build up your subscriber list, because your subscriber list, your email list, belongs to you. So one of the best ways to do that, as I said, is to write blogs, and blogs will ultimately drive more traffic to your website, build relationships, and hopefully in the long run convert those visitors into paying clients. So I'm going to bring in Claire now, and we'll have a bit of a chat. I see a few of you already starting to comment to say that you have blogs up there. Hi, Claire. How are you?
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi. Nice to see you.
So you're a creative copywriter, and you specialize with photographers, because like, you know, myself, and I know quite a lot of photographers who I do work with as well, struggle with the written word. You know, I have it all up here in my head. You know, I've produced a couple of books, but sometimes it doesn't come out the way I have it in my head, getting it out. And I'm dyslexic as well, so I do struggle. And so that's where you come in. I get the content down and I give it over to you, and then you make it sound more amazing and check my grammar and everything. So with regards to blogs, it's really crucial, isn't it, to get blogs that actually engage with your readers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're not dissimilar to a lot of photographers. That's kind of why, you know, I work with photographers. Is actually a lot of photographers that I've been talking to are dyslexic too. So that's one thing. But also loads and loads of ideas up in your heads, and then getting them onto paper and actually just getting that finished product is generally where, you know, where you struggle. And that's kind of why that's exactly why I've specialized in working with photographers. It all kind of came about. I'll tell you more in a sec, but it kind of came about because a good friend of mine's a photographer, and you know, he was always picking my brains, and he never quite knew how to get the words together. So that's where it kind of came from. But I love doing. I love the fact that, you know, you're brilliant, because you've always written it all down. It's all there, you know, and the thoughts are all there. And it's a lot of it's to do with structure. And, you know, I'm a bit of a grammar pedant, as you know. So, you know, it's giving that extra polish, really, and make it. And, you know, there's always going to be someone reading your content online or in your book or wherever who's going to point out the fact that you missed a comma after a word. And it's so daft, but people do. And, it's just nice to kind of make sure everything's nice and correct. So,
and I think one of the big things about blogs, and you're probably going to go into this into your presentation, but what I say, and funny enough, I was just talking to Andy's just commented there. Andy Whitaker was just talking to Andy earlier in the week and said, you know, when we create a blog, there's quite a tendency for photographers to just have a blog on their website and call it blog. And that's it. It doesn't have its own identity. It doesn't have a purpose. It's just there. And quite often it's a collection of shoots that you've done, and quite often you're talking about just yourself. So you're not talking, you're not helping the client. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples that I think, in my experience working with photographers in over 20 countries around the world, one of the best ways to create a blog and get a blog that's really engaging is to identify something that your client really wants and then base your blog around that. So imagine you're a wedding photographer who deals with a lot of brides who are getting married in the country, and you're based in Oxford or something. Your blog, instead of being called just blog, it could be the guide to the perfect Oxford country wedding. Yeah, and absolutely. Your content is all about creating the perfect Oxford country wedding. So my blog is called The Go-To Photographer's Blog, and it's all about helping photographers become the go-to person. So I think that is one of the big things, isn't it? To write for your audience. Don't write for yourself and talk about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many kind of creative ways you can get around it, and in terms of get around the fact that we there is a tendency to call things blogs and then just go, okay, there you go, I've done a blog, and yeah, it's nice that Andy's here actually, because we were talking to him in the group this week, and it was coming up with a sort of a title for his blog that wasn't just blog, and making it relevant to the audience that he's going to be publishing for. And that's that's really, really important. I love that idea of having Oxfordshire weddings, for example, because that you can put all sorts of things, and you can collaborate with people then who are, I don't know, florists, other venues. You can, exactly. You can do all kinds of things that are then interesting, and that becomes a place that brides in Oxford or people who are getting married in Oxford will come to and say, okay, there's loads of material in here, and then it's shareable. It's it becomes a kind of a valuable place, a resource for people. I think that's the thing, is actually a resource.
It is, yeah. Because if you think about all the blogs that you follow, and you oh yeah, that's brilliant, and you save it, and you put it in your favorites. It's a resource, like you say. One of the biggest things for people finding blogs are how-to searches, how to do this, how to do that. And I mean, I just noticed there, Sue Kennedy, bump and baby photographer. Well, what a great blog you could create about, baby's first year, and then you give in tips on how to photograph your baby. You're talking about lovely places to go to relax as a new mum, and your pamper days and everything baby related. So it becomes, your blog doesn't just become a blog, it actually becomes a hub of information that is perfect for your ideal client or your audience. And I think that is one of the key things to a really successful blog.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that can feel quite overwhelming when you first get started with a blog. Is how do you feel that your content is a resource? How do you feel that you're and I think, the key is to get started with any of these things, I think. And once you start sharing, you start having those conversations with your clients, and then you can start to perfect what it is that you're putting out there, and what it is that your clients actually want, and you'll get a feel for it yourself, I think, a lot better as you go along. But I think one of the things that I think is common with photographers, but creatives in general, is this kind of procrastination, and we can easily get stuck in kind of procrastination city, because we want the perfect headline, we want the perfect title, we want the perfect theme for our blog, and actually just getting the thing started and getting that the wheels going is part of, I think, is more important in many ways, because you can adapt your theme a little bit as you go along.
That's right. And when once you've actually once you've created your blog, and you've give your blog a purpose, and you've give your blog a name, and come on, be honest in the comments, is your blog just called blog, or does it have a name? Just let me know. But I mean, I know one of the photographers on my program, Emma Slade, Emma's created a great blog, and the blog, she's a pet photographer, she's a dog photographer, and Emma's blog is written by her dog. So which I think is a fantastic concept, So it's her dog's adventures, where a dog takes a human for a walk when she goes out and about, where a dog's favorite toy she likes to play with, written from the dog's perspective. So I think, as a pet photographer, there's so many possibilities. You can talk about the groomers, where I go to get groomed, what my favorite toys are, what my favorite walks are, what my favorite dog-friendly pubs that I like to go to while my owner's having a pint. So I think. And there's a lot of people saying, it's just called news, called blog, yeah. And think about it, guys, you know, is that really attractive to your ideal client? Would that make you want to click? If you'd come to your website and you were your customer, would you want to click on blog, or would you want to click on give it a name, give it a purpose? You know, and that's going to get people to start opening it. And also, if they come into your blog through your blog posts and they see that there's more content about this and what the purpose of the blog is, it's going to help them dive in a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. We've got a few people coming up and saying, yeah, just blog or news. And I think mine actually, even my own blog, I don't think I've got a theme in that I want it to be kind of copywriting tips for photographers, but I don't think it's going as deep as your themes. Certainly not as creative as a dog writing on my behalf. I love that.
Yours could be, you know, get in your, was it get in the sea, so it could be like Claire's copywriting column. And then
exactly. Just get all of it. Creative copywriting column. Claire creative, but all the C's.
So you've got a PowerPoint to share with us, right?
I have. I've just done a quick, because otherwise I kind of have a tendency to waffle and that kind of thing. So
nobody waffles more than I do, Claire. So
I don't know. We can have a waffle off. Yeah, so right, I'll just quickly, so what I thought I'd do today, guys, is try and teach you some tips. So we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of blogging first, and then I'm going to just try and give you a little bit of an insight on how a lot of people do struggle with writing. I've noticed that other people have said in the comments already they don't necessarily struggle with the writing part, but I think a lot of people do. It's getting over that hurdle of actually getting something written, and I've got a kind of great way of kind of getting that initial writing piece done in an hour. So that's kind of the some of the theme, but most of this is it's general. It's mostly about kind of blogging and what we can do about making our blogs a little bit more.
And obviously, as you're going along, guys, if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. I can pop them over to Claire if she can't see the screen. So when she's got a PowerPoint up.
Yeah, I can see on both, but I do miss things when we're doing this sometimes. Right, hi guys. So once again, this is me. I'm Claire Bignall. I help photographers get more leads and engage new clients with great copywriting. So that's me. Quick little thing about why you're even bothering to listen to me today, besides that Jeff's brought me along. So I've been in marketing and copywriting for well over 20 years now. So I've got a kind of solid background in marketing as a general thing, but the writing side is something that I've always loved. And so I specialize now in copywriting. It does mean when you come work with me that I tend to kind of understand quite a lot of the marketing aspects of why we do it. It's not just the writing. So, and as I said, you know, I said when we were chatting, Jeff and I were talking before we kicked off here, you know, I'm a creative person at heart, and, you know, but I have got a business background. So that's why, you know, I can help you guys. And, you know, this all came about really my passion of working with photographers. I love photography. I'm not very good at it. I'm a fairly average amateur, but I've got friends who are photographers, and you know, I realise that they really struggle with the marketing and copywriting side of things. So I thought this would be a good area for me to step in and help out. So that's kind of where I come from.
Colby's just said, is anybody saying anything? Can people see the PowerPoint display okay? Because Colby seems to think there's a bit of a problem. There's a bit of a delay on the screen. That's probably just, I know there is a bit of a delay on LinkedIn Lives. So.
Okay. Well, if I go, I'm not going to rush through these, so hopefully they won't have flicked off by the time. So I always start my presentations with this, just to tell people what copywriting is. So copywriting isn't just writing. The whole point of copywriting is that you're writing with a purpose. So you're writing with a kind of a goal, and the goal or the purpose is to convert your viewers into customers. So it's not kind of just general advertising writing. It's not necessarily. It's not just writing. It's not writing in a book or whatever. It's writing with the purpose of converting viewers into customers. It looks like I'll just let Jeff know. Yeah, it looks like everyone can see. That's perfect.
Brilliant.
Good. Right, and then so I thought I'd just start at the very basic. So the real basic what a blog is. I think, we forget it started yonks and yonks ago. I can't remember the exact date, actually. I did see it earlier. But it's kind of an online journal, and it's published in chronological order. That's where a blog came from. So it's quite easy for us to kind of get a bit kind of worried about it all, but really that's what it is, and that's where it came from. Is it's a chronological series of pieces of information that we put out for the world, and it's that simple. It really is. It's quite easy to kind of overcomplicate it a bit, but that's what it is basically. I thought I'd just do a quick. We've sort of covered this a little bit in the intro, but why do we blog, and where's that all come from? It started as this kind of idea of journaling online, and now it's gone bonkers. And the reason it's gone bonkers is that Google loves it, and I'll go into that a little bit more later. But with your blogs, you are able to do an awful lot. You can drive traffic to your site. We touched on that earlier. It provides you with content for social media. I love long form content. So when I write for people, long form content is basically content that goes on websites, and it goes on blogs, and it goes in documents, and the PDF downloads, that kind of stuff that you create, because that is all stuff that you can reuse and recycle for social media, for all kinds of different things. And it can keep going. You can spin it in different ways and keep using it for a long time. It's got a long life, a shelf life, if you like. You can convert your traffic into leads. So as Jeff mentioned earlier on, one of the things that's really good to do, and I'll come back to this in a sec as well, is to try and collect emails when people have gone and looked at your blog. Give them a reason to subscribe with you, and that becomes a sales lead, and that is something that's yours. It's not owned by any other platform. I've obviously repeated myself there, so it doubly drives traffic to your site according to my bullet points here. I've got to put that in twice, I'm sorry. And it's long-term results. It really does have a long shelf life. I think the difficulty is that you don't necessarily see an immediate sale from a blog, and that's the reality of a lot of this kind of work. Is it's a slow burn. You're putting in the investment and the time now for something that will happen in the future, and that's always a little bit difficult, but it's worth it, because actually the shelf life of these things is incredibly long, and I know that people talk about having their blogs being found again and again and again, even 5 years later. After a blog's been published. I think I've heard you mention that before with one of your articles on LinkedIn, actually.
Yeah, I still get inquiries, maybe 2 or 3 years after. And I think one thing, that you've just covered there, the usability of a blog. And if you think about it, you think, oh God, I've got to write a blog. It's like, because we're looking at average lengths of maybe 2,500, 2,000 words. But think about what you can do with that, how you can utilize that. So my blog is a way to drive traffic to my website, but I also create a YouTube video which is relevant to the blog. So the blog links to YouTube, so it drives traffic to my YouTube. Then that blog piece, if we create a really nice blog piece, it's got lots of imagery in, that could be created into a really nice PDF, branded up beautifully. You could do it yourself on Canva, or get somebody off Fiverr to make it look really, really premium, brilliant. And that can be given out to free to prospective clients. But then if you had maybe, 10 tips to whatever the end result, for your ideal client, 10 tips to having the perfect wedding day, or 10 tips to taking great portraits of your baby, then one of those tips could be a post every week on social media.
Yeah.
So you've got 10 weeks worth, if you're doing a tip a week of that particular content. So don't think of the blog as, oh my God, I'm writing 2,500 words to put up to my website, and then I've got to wait 6 months before anything comes of it. Exactly. You create, and I literally have hundreds of pages of content, of PDFs. Then I turn some of these PDFs into PowerPoints, and I go into associations and stuff like that. So you work, all this work you do is not wasted just on that one blog. Reuse it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. I mean, I suppose it's like with anything really. The more effort that you put in, actually, the more you get out of it. Really, you don't necessarily put a huge amount. Not demeaning social media posts, but we don't necessarily put a huge amount of effort into writing a short social media post. But equally, you don't get a huge amount of return from that. And with a blog, you get a lot more that comes back to you from the work that you put into it. The other thing, it puts you in a position of authority, because you are able to put across your opinion on something. You're also able to connect with other groups, or as Jeff mentioned, link out to other websites. You're able to state your case. I mean, for example, with Emma, the pet photographer, she's actually able to say, okay, I understand about pet photography. I understand about this because here I am doing it, and she's showing examples of how she connects with suppliers and who she recommends. She's got an opinion on that. All of that kind of stuff puts you in a position of authority. And I think that's really important. And again, it's something that's really difficult to get across in a small social media post, for example. It's difficult to get across in other places, but actually in a blog, you're putting all of that content together in one place, and suddenly you start to look like you've got an opinion on various different topics, all related to that one thing.
And one thing, just to expand on that, we touched on this last night in my Awesome Photographers group meeting, didn't we? There's a lady, Emma Dunham, who's a food photographer. And I was talking to Emma last week about her content and all this content she's created, and I says, You've probably got a book there. Now, my next book is called The Go-To Photographer's Book: How to Build a Premium Brand. Now, I started collating about 2 or 3 months ago all the blogs and bits of stuff that I'd written about branding and put them into one file. And then I had a look and I was like, wow, I've got 18,000 words already. My predicted size of my book is going to be 40,000. So I've already written half the content. I've just got to restructure it. So, when you're creating lots of content about your particular niche, you're building up that authority, and soon you could have your own ebook. You could have a load of downloadable brochures on different stuff, as well as your blog posts and as well as your social media content.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great. There's so much good stuff that you can get out of doing blogs. I'm a massive fan of it. Massive fan now. But yeah, I just thought I'd quickly do sort of secondary benefits, some of which we've touched on. So I won't dwell on this for too long. But you can connect with clients. It allows you to be in that place. They're coming to you. They're spending time in your space, and that allows that creates that kind of weird virtual emotional connection. But it is a connection nonetheless. You can provide insight and educate your clients. You present yourself in the best light. You have ownership in the way that you're presenting yourself, and that again is very, very powerful. And clients get to know you. All of these are kind of soft benefits, but they really are important, I think. The other thing is you can tell stories much more. You can use it's a long form content. That's what we talk about. And that's like anywhere between 1,000 or way over, up to 2,500. Some people do even longer blogs. But you can tell a story within a blog format much better than you can in a lot of other spaces. You can tell them on social media, but you're telling some of the story. You're not necessarily telling it all. And as Jeff touched on as well, you own your space with a blog, and you own collecting those emails, and then you own those emails. You have ownership over those. It's not a bunch of people that on LinkedIn or a bunch of people that on Facebook, where the platform could change, the algorithm could change. You suddenly don't have those connections anymore. These are people who are within your world because you've invited them in and they've volunteered to give you their information and they want to stay in your world. And that's incredibly, incredibly valuable. Right, just quickly. So I think some people are surprised when you talk about blogging, that you can publish it in lots of different places. And again, we've sort of touched on this, but obviously there's your website. You can reuse your blog that you've created there as a LinkedIn article, or vice versa. You can start with a LinkedIn article and put that on your website. Those two things work beautifully together. You can publish excerpts of that blog to your email list, share it out to your email list. And as Jeff mentioned just now, out to your Facebook, your Instagram pages, any of your other social pages, and connect those together. The other place that I think a lot of people don't realize is you can also publish to places like Medium and Reddit and Quora. I know a lot of people who publish to Medium, which is just it's basically a blogging platform. But again, that can help. There are a lot of people who go to those resources to read opinion pieces. They want to find out the news about certain topics, and if you're writing about a particular topic and people are going in and searching within Medium, for example, go back to the idea about wedding photographers and weddings in Oxfordshire. People might well be looking for ideas about weddings in Oxfordshire and looking for articles where people have got something longer to say, something which is a little bit intelligent and inspired and thought-provoking, as opposed to necessarily looking for kind of sales or suppliers and that kind of thing. So it's worth kind of thinking about your blog in a kind of a wider concept like that.
And funny enough, instantly you were talking about LinkedIn articles. When I sort of like Google myself on going to Google and Google myself, my LinkedIn articles or LinkedIn searches rank higher on the first page of Google than my actual website. So LinkedIn articles are extremely SEO relevant, and Google searches LinkedIn articles because LinkedIn is effectively a search engine itself as well. So it's funny when I type in photography mentoring or Jeff Brown, the photography's mentor or anything like that, sometimes my LinkedIn articles show up on page one, first and second place above my own website. So don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn articles. Yes, you don't get a lot of engagement from them initially, but long form and for SEO benefits, they're really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a really good point as well, is that thing about engagement. I think we've kind of conditioned ourselves to believe that actually, we need to kind of get this kind of these likes and the shares, and we always want to have that, and that kind of gives us our sort of justification. Actually, you don't get that so much with a blog post, but what you are getting is this kind of this long shelf life, this ability for things to be picked up out of the internet for some time to come, and that's in many ways much more valuable than 3 or 4 likes today. Although everyone likes a like, who doesn't? Who doesn't like a like, eh? But yeah, so who's it for? Just quickly, just to remind everyone again, we touched on this already, but we have to remember that when you're writing, you are always writing with your ideal client in your mind. You're thinking about your target market. And we went into it actually probably in more detail before I started this kind of presentation. Is to really think about what the purpose of your blog is, and to try and give it a reason for being, a raison d'etre. It's not just a blog. It's not just a series of, as per the old school definition of a blog, it's not just a series of journal items. These days it is so much more than that. And if you think about it, I think actually we've kind of touched on it quite well earlier. If you try and think about it as a resource for your ideal client, and then think about your post from the concept of what kind of resource, how can you make it like something that's really helpful and really juicy for people to come into, I think that's a really good place to start, think about it that way. Right, so just quickly, it's not just words. It doesn't have to be just words. It can be, it's all sorts of things in your blog. So I just thought I'd just remind people that, there are links and things as well. But in terms of what you want to put in that blog, what goes in there, pictures are really important. And, Jeff mentioned earlier that I've been writing some bits for his blog, and, there'll be more coming out this year. But one of the things that is suggested is that you put more and more pictures in, and we kind of were constantly adding more until we got to that kind of perfect point to make it as SEO friendly as possible. And we put tags on those pictures, we put little descriptions on them, all that kind of stuff to just help the SEO. So all of these things make it a much richer kind of SEO piece of content as well. But it also
from a reader's point of view as well, it's, if you think about, if you type, 2 or 3 short 2-3 line paragraphs on your laptop, and then you go and view that on a mobile phone. That's probably 2 whole scrolls like that. Now imagine if you're going through 3 or 4 scrolls, which isn't a lot on a laptop, before you hit any headlines, any bullet points, or any audio, video, or pictures. It's going to look too heavy on the eye. You're just not going to be able to take it in. So pictures are a brilliant way of breaking up your blog, making it easier to digest, and also the pictures can reinforce what you've actually just been talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, you make a really good point. Headlines are really. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that. So remind me when we get to that kind of stage, and we'll talk a bit about headlines, kind of ad lib. But very much the readers making it easy on the eye is so important with a blog, because it is long form content, and I love reading, but I can't be bothered to read a black and white long piece of text on my phone. Absolutely not. I just haven't got the patience at all. So yeah, all of this stuff really helps. It brings it back to life. It brings it up to life, and you can also link off to places. So the video thing, it may well be one of your YouTube videos, in which case you're linking back out to your YouTube channel, for example. So there's loads you can do there to make it much more fun and engaging. Right. So now we've changed colour. So what to write? So I've put a little cricket in the corner here, because most people's brains kind of go to crickets when they start thinking about what to write. And that's and it's it is difficult, but I think there are some sort of key little tips here. So one is, we've touched on this already, is to know your audience, to understand them, and to have that aim of educating, inspiring, or kind of enriching their lives. I love this kind of resource idea that we've kind of come up with while we've been talking. It is a resource to think about. So before I start writing, if I'm writing for myself or writing for somebody else that I haven't written for before, or who I don't have a lot of content from, is to actually start kind of thinking about those common problems and common questions. One of my friends who's a photographer, I asked him a while ago, what are the common questions that you get asked when you turn up on site to work with your clients? And we had to dig a little bit deeper than when am I getting my photos back. But we got into a point of, okay, do they understand how, for example, they need to prepare the space before he arrives on site so that it's ready for him to do the shoot? Do they understand that he, all of these, there's lots of different questions that suddenly came up that he could then write useful and helpful articles as a result of those questions that he actually gets from his clients. And so actually your best resource is your experience, is those questions that come up again and again and again from your clients. And that's a brilliant place to start thinking about what to write.
And another thing that don't forget, and we'll come to those questions on links and tags in a second that I see in the comments there. Another thing to really jump on board and talk about is the usage element, and how to get the best usage out of the image, especially if you're a commercial photographer. So, as photographers, I think it's our duty of care to look after our clients and make sure that the images that we provide them, they get the best use out of them. So even if you're a portrait photographer, how best to display them, how easy to mount a picture on a wall and get it central and stuff like that. If you're a branding photographer, how to get more engagement on your social media posts, how to post for optimal times, what keywords to use, what hashtags. So this is all content that the end user, yes, we've got the images, you've supplied the images, now you want to make sure that they're getting the most out of those images, because if they get masses of engagement and you help them get what they want, they're going to come back and use you again. If they put those images out there and they don't get anything from them, then they're going to think, oh, well, we spent all that money on that photographer, but we didn't get loads of likes, we didn't get shares, we didn't get comments, we didn't get click-throughs to the website. So what we want to do is really educate the clients in the end usage and how to get the optimal best out of what we produce for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that came up a bit yesterday, didn't it? It was this kind of idea that people, the images, if the images just land with the client and then that's it, the photographer goes off and then the client's just going, okay, cool, well, I'll just post these a few times on social and I might change some headers on my website, but they're not really doing anything much more with it. it's kind of it's in everyone's best interest, really, to make sure that's not what happens.
And if you can think about your own niche, so I know there's a few different niches here. So if you just think of one title you could have for a blog that would really blog post that would really appeal to your ideal client. So would it be about, a question beforehand, or would it be about how they're going to utilize the images, or how they can get the best images? Maybe stick them in the comments, and if I think I can add something to it, I will.
Yeah, brilliant. So actually on that, one thing I quite often do is a little Google search, but it's actually a Google search for the question that I've got in my mind. So if I think I want to write a post about, I don't know, where to walk the dog in Sussex, for example, and I want to write a whole post that's all about, I wouldn't be writing that for my business, but I will put in where to walk the dog in Sussex. And then from there, Google actually comes up with other people ask, which you probably have noticed, but you may not have realized how powerful and how useful that is for you as a research tool, because it will give you clues about what other people are typing into Google about that topic. So that's a really good way of you kind of refining your question, maybe looking to see what other people have posted about the topic, look at how they're describing it, maybe take a slightly different slant to them, but it gives you an awful lot of insight. It's really,
and that's
really
right at the bottom of the page, isn't it? On Google, when you scroll down, you can see people are also searching for.
Exactly. It's that white box. Sometimes it's about a third of the way down, and then usually there's another repeated box about another third of the way down, and you can kind of keep clicking on those. If one of those questions is even more close to your topic of choice, you can click into that, and then it gives you a whole bunch of other ones. But that's there, and that's free. It's gold dust, that.
And there's also some good bits of software as well that you can use, isn't there?
There is. There's one if you're a Chrome user. There's one called Keywords Anywhere, and I've got that extension on my Chrome, and that's really useful. And it's quite, sometimes it's a bit annoying because it gives you the keywords every time you're looking for what time the pizza place opens. But it's really good when you're doing research. And another one,
Uber Suggest by Neil Patel. So that will tell you, it give you variations of what you're searching for. So you might say how to take better photographs of my dog, and then it will come up and say, right, there is more people searching for how to take amazing dog photographs. So what it's doing, it's giving you ideas for your headline. So it will give you a list of ideas and say, this one has so many searches, this one has so many searches, but it's quite hard to rank for. So Uber Suggest, Uber is in the cabs, and then Suggest is in suggestion. And there's another one called the Hoth, which is HOTH. That's another really good one.
Yeah, those are both great. Uber Suggest is brilliant. And Neil Patel, actually, in general, for any SEO knowledge, he's the lord and master of all useful knowledge, I think. But he's great. Uber Suggest, definitely. And then the other one that I just put on here is Answer the Public, which is very similar, but I think you get 3 free searches a day. But again, you can put your question in, and then it will come up with, or your topic in. I think you put your 3 keywords of the topic in, and then it will come up with a load of questions. It will come up with it will come up with a whole bunch of different things. But you can actually start to read around the topic that you're looking at, and you can see what questions it presents, the actual questions that people are repeatedly answering or asking on Google. So that's really good as well. Let's move on. Right, so just quickly, we've touched on this already, but when we're writing for your blog, write with a goal in mind. Do you want them to do something? What do you want them to do? Do you want to give them something? Do you want to get them to download a free PDF? Do you want to give them a guide to something? Do you want to give them the offer where they can actually download your blog post as a PDF, for example, so that they can read it later? Do you want them to get onto your mailing list? You can have a whole separate mailing list that just alerts people to the fact that you published a new blog, for example. Do you want them to follow you on social media? Make sure you've got those follow links at the bottom of your post. So this kind of stuff's really important. The other thing, this doesn't really fit here, but I really wanted to mention it, and actually this has come out of the great brain of Neil Patel, who we just mentioned. So the #1 marketing trend prediction, he's normally pretty good with his marketing trends for the year, for 2022, is storytelling. And I just saw that and I just thought, oh my goodness, that's just perfect for blogs. Where is there, and where better to deploy storytelling than in your blog environment? You can do stories about client work, you can do stories about how you came to be, stories about problems you fixed, about how you help, about people you engage with, about things you've discovered in your local area that would help your clients, all kinds of things. All of these become stories, and that's so powerful. So I just wanted to mention that because it's good to know that that's something that's going to be quite hot in 2022.
Okay. And when you come to that, that storytelling, one thing I'd always say is, about client work, is it when we say about client work, we mean from a client's perspective, not from your perspective. So if you're telling a story about a wedding you photographed, you don't say, oh, I did this and with Dave and Michelle. You talk about how it was for Dave and Michelle, how they got their beautiful photographs with Gran, who, she was up and dancing at the end of the night, how they'd had guests travel from Australia and stuff. So you tell the story from there, every bit, every intimate bit and emotional bit of that wedding day. Or if you're talking about a particular business you've been working for, how you did the shoot, but what the business got from it. So they got images that they used on the website. They've seen an increase in website conversions by 20%. That they'd seen an increase in their social media followers. So all this benefits that the client got from what you've done. Talk about that. So talk about the client's viewpoint and how you overcome their problems, and then they found a great solution.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was kind of what I meant. But you've articulated it much better than me. So the point of using storytelling as a kind of a method of telling it is that you can tell the story that way. You can make a story that's engaging, that's interesting, that's kind of full of emotion, that people will want to read. Versus putting a case study on your case study section of your project section of your site, where people kind of it feels colder, it feels like less kind of a little bit more clinical, whereas here you can be much more emotional, and you can put all your photographs in there as well, of course, as we've already said. So it's brilliant. Right, quick. So I'm quite conscious of I've been rabbiting already. So SEO. So just a quick note about SEO as well. We've already touched on quite a lot of it, but just by doing all of this stuff, you are already kind of optimizing your content in inverted commas, because you're answering the questions that other people are asking. You're giving people what they're interested in, what they're likely to read. You're appealing to your perfect clients. You're being considerate of their time. You're laying it out nicely because you want them to have an enjoyable experience when they read it. You're thinking about all of this stuff, and that's the stuff that Google and the other search engines love. They want to see people who are happy and satisfied and engage with your content, and that's what kind of effectively gives you SEO points in the world of SEO as well, because you're actually being a good kind of global internet citizen by doing all of this work.
And there's that famous book, is it Marcus Sheridan, who does They Ask You Answer? I don't know if you and that's how he built a huge revenue through a swimming pool business, not by promoting his business, but talking about having a swimming pool, or all the things that could go wrong, things to look out for, top tips from buying it. So he created, got a huge following and really upped their engagement for the business and the turnover by creating content that answered their potential clients' questions right at the very beginning. So when they were out looking for to purchase a swimming pool, but actually asking questions when they're considering phase, like how much does it cost to run a swimming pool? What is involved in having a swimming pool? That sort of stuff. So he was targeting them right at the very beginning, and because their business was given all this amazing content, they had that, like you said, they got that authority. They got the customers were like, oh, they're coming from a place of not trying to sell, but they're coming from a place of trying to help. So they got a lot more respect.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he even did things like he do posts on how deep your foundations for your swimming pool need to be, and all kinds of things that are covered in there. And that's how far you can go with this stuff as well, isn't it?
But check that book out on Amazon. It's They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, and this is perfect for blog content.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've got that. I haven't read it for a while. I'm going to have to reread it now. Right, this is, so I did promise when I started out that I kind of give you a method, if you like, of writing a blog piece in an hour. So if you're going to try and get a blog piece done and you're really struggling, you can really bake the back of it in the space of an hour. So I just thought I would just give you this little kind of template for you to follow. So the first thing that's really important is the headline. There's like there's loads of statistics on the internet, but the one that seems to be quite firm here is that 8 out of 10 people only ever read the headline, or only read the headline before they do anything. They look at the headline and they'll read that. And so your headline really does need to be strong. It needs to be interesting, and it needs to encourage people to read more. You want to give people a strong reason to share. Some people share content on the strength of a headline alone.
Yeah.
They won't necessarily even have read. They'll see something, they'll see a headline, and they'll think, oh, hang on a second, my friend's getting married in Oxfordshire. Just going back to the wedding in Oxfordshire, and if the title is something to do with, the best venues in Oxfordshire, they're gonna forward that link without necessarily even reading the content. They'll forward it to their bride's friend that's getting married. So if your headline is good, so this is why everyone bangs on about headlines. So to be unique, specific, useful, and urgent, and those are the things that you're looking for. And what I've done is I've put a little link in here for a site which I think is great. You can basically analyze your own headline when you've written it, and it will give you tips to make your headline stronger. I will provide this link somehow to Jeff afterwards, and enable you to be able to get it. But it's basically really good. You can just go in there and it will tell you where you need to kind of tweak your headline a bit. There's a paid version, but the free version gives you enough of an insight to give you some clues as to how you can make your headline a bit stronger.
And there's quite a bit of research, isn't there, into that negative headlines actually create more click-throughs and create more of a positive response, get more openings. So if, say, for instance, you were going to write a blog on 10 top tips to the perfect wedding day, right? People are more likely to click on the blog post that says 10 mistakes you do not want to make on your wedding day, because we're actually, as a consumer of content and media and newspapers, we're actually drawn towards negative headlines because that's what we get pushed in our face all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the press is great for creating these ridiculous, very negative, overpowering headlines that actually sometimes when you click on it and read it, it isn't anywhere near as bad. It's just pure clickbait, isn't it? So, but obviously you don't want to be creating clickbait, but you want to create stuff that make people act.
That's useful. Exactly. So, I mean, 10 mistakes that you don't want to make on your wedding day, you could definitely put 10 very, very accurate, true pieces of content into there. 10 things that you really don't want to do on your wedding day. You don't want to get drunk before the ceremony, for example, but whatever else. But you can put or genuine useful stuff. Right. Let's just so what have I done? Okay. So the next part, these slides all look a bit similar because I tried to do them as a kind of a group. So the next part of your 1 hour schedule for this is set yourself a timer for 5 minutes and write a paragraph. And that paragraph is going to explain what you want to talk about in your blog post. So you're going to say, I'm going to be sharing about blah, 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 blah. Repeat the title. So whatever you used in your headline, try and repeat that here, because that's, number one, SEO friendly. Number two, it reiterates that you're about to tell somebody about what it is that you said in the title you were going to tell them about. And this is why you're going to do it, because you've discovered a whole bunch of stuff about 10 reasons, so 10 things that you shouldn't do on your wedding day or whatever, and and tell people to read on that. You can literally set yourself a timer for 5 minutes to do this piece of work, and that that will get you started on it. The next piece is a structure. So again, another 5 minute timer, and just write 6 bullet points. Now these are going to become the 6 key elements that you're going to cover. These are going to become basically six paragraphs or 6 sections that you're going to write about within the body of your blog. And this is where I need to remember the bit that I forgot to write in here, which is to do with headlines. And this is where you can really start to to make sure you've got plenty of white space when we get to this. These 6 bullet points will become your 6 headers, or 6 headers, or if you end up with 8 or 10, doesn't matter. But this is me trying to show you how you can do this in an hour. And so if we keep it to 6, and those can then become your headers, and then your content will come underneath those. But that becomes you could actually put those headlines through that headline analyzer that I mentioned before, and just make sure that they kind of got the right kind of content in them, that they sound compelling, they sound interesting.
And if you look at any really good performing blogs, you will see these subheadings. You'll have the main header, then you'll have the subheadings, which is your bullet points, your bulleted categories that you have of subtext. And the whole purpose of this is it makes it easy to scan, doesn't it? Because we don't read everything. We just scan. I wanted to learn about this bit. No, I'm not interested in that bit. And I just did it today myself on a blog, so it was, I don't want to learn about that. I know that. I want to learn about this. So you can get right to the bit that's of interest to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I do that all the time. I know that I'm not interested in that bit, and I know that this is why I clicked on that headline in the first place, because I want to get to this section. So and then next, so we're going to just basically write text. So I would say, again, 5 minutes for each of those little sections. Set yourself a timer, 5-10 minutes, up to you, and just write. And again, I if you've seen me speak before, I do sort of advocate this. Don't worry about the spelling, the punctuation, the grammar to start with. Just get the words on paper, get the point of the topic that you've got in your head out, and get it on paper. Because once it's out on paper, then you can start messing around with it. Then you can make sure you've got, you can start getting a bit more pedantic about which words you're using, or whether or not you've kind of articulated that properly. But actually, your brain kind of moves quite quickly. So actually, the sooner you can get it out onto your page, the better. And you also feel very satisfied. I can tell you that for sure. You actually suddenly feel like you're making progress, and it doesn't feel so overwhelming anymore. And suddenly you're starting to see the frame, the kind of body of this blog start coming together. So that's that piece. And then finally, really, we're going to spend 5 minutes at the end with a call to action. And this is really, really important. We want to make sure that there is a call to action at the bottom of your blog, or multiple calls to action at the bottom of your blog. But we've talked about this a few times. It may be download a PDF. It may be download a PDF version of this blog. I've seen that done by a few people, and I think that's really neat, because if people haven't got time to read it, they might just want to download a PDF and read it later. Sign up for more blogs, be alerted when, next time you publish, read another, make sure there's clicks and links across to your other blogs within your layout. Connect with you, so make sure you've got your social sharing links in there. One thing I did want to mention here is this kind of look at your services thing. I would say personally, and I think other people that I've seen online would agree with me, we don't necessarily want to make your blog too salesy. So actually winding people straight back off to look at your services, I wouldn't suggest that in the environment of a blog, unless there's a particular product perhaps that you've been talking about within the topic of that blog piece, or a particular service that you really want to highlight. Because what we're trying to do is make your blog environment kind of a friendly resource, a place where people can come and hang out and get information and get knowledge about something, and they're not necessarily getting sold to.
And I think if you are going to go down the services route at the very end, then make it something easy and small, something with what you say, like, doesn't create much friction. So that could be a free consultation call. So something I do, for a free consultation call. Or if you don't do consultation calls, you could have a taster package. So it's something very small for a chance for a potential client to try you out at a very low risk amount. So they're not having to lay out a lot of money. But a free consultation call is brilliant. And another thing, when you're asking people to sign up for your blog, don't just say sign up to my blog, or don't say, sign up to my newsletter. Tell them why they want to sign up. So, like I could say, sign up to the Go-To Photographer's blog for regular photography business tips and advice to help you grow your photography business. So keep it, give them a reason to do it. Tell them what they're going to get from it. They're not just going to get a block, they're going to get something from it. How is it going to solve their problems or be a benefit to them?
Yeah, Great. I've just noticed Nina asked, does it matter how many times you post per week? No, not at all. I mean, but if you've got time to post more often than once a week, I think most people struggle to write more often, or if you're inspired or you feel like doing a whole load in one go, you might feel, you might go on. A lot of people go on a kind of a content marathon and spend a couple of weeks writing loads of posts and then schedule them out across a period of time. But there's no limit on how many times you post.
I mean, one way to do it, Nina, is to sit down and think of all those questions, think of all those headlines, and even put them into different sections. So something I've done with my blog, me and Claire are going to do 24 blogs for the Go-To Photographers blog for my blog on my website. But I've already got them into sections, so I know that January and February's sort of goal setting. March is going to be, and April is going to be about LinkedIn. Then we're going to do a brand. So I've already started to create those headlines, so we know what the content's going to be about. So that might be a thing, is to just sit down and think, how many areas, what can I help my clients with? And you might come up with, all right, well, I've got 20 potential blogs, so I'm going to do 2 a month.
Yeah, and the other nice thing with that is if you've got an idea of what your kind of schedule is, you tend to, I think you're probably more open to picking up more stuff as you go around your day-to-day life. You just go, as you go around the internet, you pick up more knowledge. You kind of think, oh, that will be useful for that blog that I'm planning to do in April or whatever. And that's, and actually coming from that mindset rather than just sort of doing it on the hop, is I think is really helpful as well.
And I think some of the best sort of really informative blogs only produce content once a month. One of the investment blogs that I read on like stocks and shares and bitcoins and stuff, he only when you sign up, he says that I'm not going to bombard your inbox every single week. You're just going to get one piece of content off me a month, but it's going to be worth its weight in gold. So, I think sometimes quality over quantity does really matter, especially if you want to keep your audience engaged and coming back for more, so don't fill up their inbox too much. Just give them really good stuff that they love it and they can't wait to get the next one.
Yeah.
So we had another question about links. So obviously links, one way to do links. Have you got links on this one, have you?
Not massively, but we can, if we cover it now, because I can always just skip over it. I don't think I did a huge bit. You go.
So links, obviously, links within your text. So you can what you call hyperlink the text, so the actual word itself. If you click on that word, so if I had on my blog say something about your LinkedIn profile, then that link could take you through to my YouTube video that talks about setting up your LinkedIn profile. You could talk about a wedding at I don't know, Falstaff Manor Hotel or something like that, and then that links through to Falstaff Manor Hotel's webpage. Or you could have another blog that is about a particular, so you could say to find out more about other Falstaff Manor Hotel weddings. So the good thing about a blog is you can link, actually quite a few links. It's good to get quite a few links in there, isn't it? It's both internal links to other blogs, to parts of your actual website, and then external links to other resources, whether it be, resources where you've got information and stats from, where people can purchase stuff. You can even get affiliate links as well if you're recommending products. And Emma was saying last night, she gets on her 5-day challenge, she gets lots of people wanting to find out about the products she's using for her food photography. So she's got links that people can go, and they only say that, if you do have affiliate links, then just be honest and say this is an affiliate link. So you don't sound like you're just trying to get money. You be honest and say this is an affiliate link. But yeah, if you've got resources, products, books, that sort of stuff, then stick those links as well.
And link them in. Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, we certainly found when we were writing your blog, one of the blogs this month was, that suddenly all of the SEO stuff, the kind of the counters and stuff within WordPress got much happier when we started putting in these links. We started linking out to the YouTube channel. Once you start linking out to, I think we were linking out to Amazon for your book, weren't we, with Jeff?
Yeah.
We were linking out to and linking within the site as well. So it really does help. So I think I think I've put something here, but basically we've kind of covered all this stuff. I just wanted to put a quick summary really here. But Google really does love people who help their customers. So if you can come from a point of helping as opposed to selling, that's my Go away. Oh. Sorry, guys. That's the problem with having a Mac. Everything rings on the computer. So Google loves people who help their customers. Links, providing relevant links to other sites, and sharing. So all of these things actually help your SEO as well. So the fact that you're doing good content that people want, that they like, that they're staying around to read, that they're engaging with, and that they're sharing. If they start sharing it, then that's something that, you know, the search engines pick up on that kind of behavior. And those links to other sites. And I think I put another whole page which we've actually really covered off, I think. Actually, I did ask a question prior to this, just to see if anyone has any particular questions about blogging. I put it out on my social channels, and one of the questions that came up was this kind of thing about sharing on social, and we have touched on this really during the course of this. But actually, those bullet points that I mentioned earlier that are also headlines, those little sections that you start from suddenly become really good little gold mines of information for you to just pull out information to share on social, because those are like little mini topics, and you say this is a blog post where I'm talking about XYZ, and you can kind of almost pull that out, and that's how you can do that quite quickly and make sure that you keep up with sharing your blog post out on your social. And you can choose an image, whether it's an image that you used in your blog, or why not have a different image that kind of relates, and keep as another way for you to get your photographs out there. And just do something a bit different, but still related to the topic of the blog.
And a great way to utilize it for LinkedIn is to obviously, you've written your blog, you've got your blog, you create, like we said, create that in Canva, get that blog once you've written it, put it into Canva, add lots of images, make it into a really nice sort of PDF brochure, or better still, outsource it to somebody on Fiverr and get a designer to make a really good job of it. Because I always say, 50, 60 quid here spent on design is worth tens of thousands in the long run in potential business, because it creates the right first impression. Then when you've done that, upload that to your featured section on your LinkedIn profile. So your featured section is just below your headline section. So you can upload PDFs, you can upload links to your website, stuff like that. But if you upload that as a PDF, then what you can do is one of those top tips or part of your blog, you can create a LinkedIn post, and then you can say in the post, if you want to download the full PDF, head over to my featured section where it's downloadable on the first link. It gets people over to yours. So on my LinkedIn profile, I quite often say that in my posts, if you want to find out more about what I do, head over to my LinkedIn profile where you can download my full brochure. So I've got my full brochure in the featured section as a PDF. So that's a really good way of utilizing LinkedIn. Coco's just asked a question, and he says, would you suggest using Keynote or Word? Well, from my point of view, one thing I really find a benefit with Word, I don't know if Keynote does this, is because I'm dyslexic and I miss so much stuff. I read over it and I don't see the mistakes that I've written. Is then when I've written that content and I've read over it, then I go over it again in Word. But Word has, when you go into the review section in Word has a read aloud function. And when you hear somebody, this woman with a really posh voice reading your content back, straight away you can hear the mistakes, because she'll say there instead of they are, and you go, oh, hang on a minute. Or she'll read out the sentence, and the sentence will sound really, really long, and you go, oh, right, I need some commas in here, I need to break that up. So I recommend definitely doing it in Word, just because of that read aloud function, but I'm not sure if Keynote has that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Keynote, actually. I just use Word. So I use either Word or just Google Docs as well. But yeah.
Anybody else got any more questions before?
Sorry, that was it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, keywording we've done, and we covered link. Sorry, that was it. Yeah, I think we're done. I think so. I'm just really conscious of time, guys. Yeah.
Do I restrict the number of tags? Well, I think they say about between sort of 3 and 7 tags per blog for your actual blog tags.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want millions, definitely not. I was going to just quickly mention about keywording. I saw that somebody asked about keywords. I think I'm not the keywording expert here. There's Clemency Wright, actually, who is also in Jeff's world, is the absolute keywording person. But just, that research that you did at the top end of this, you've already got an idea of some of the keywords. Because I know when I first started doing this, people used to talk about keywords, and I'd be like, how do I even know what the keywords are? I'd just be like, well, I don't even know. But actually, that research that you did at the top end of what we talked about at the beginning of this presentation, looking at Answer the Public, looking at Uber Suggest, looking at all those kind of things, those are giving you insights into the keywords. And, we talked as well about doing blogs, for Jeff's blogs. It's really easy, certainly in WordPress, to make sure that you've got an alt description and you've got some keywords associated with those images. And just make sure that you kind of include that as much as you possibly can throughout your text. But I'm not going to go into that too much, because there's other people who know this topic.
And if you're using WordPress for your blogs, and obviously WordPress is one of the best platforms for creating blogs, because it started off as a bloggers platform, didn't it? And Rank Math is a plugin that you can use. So Rank, RANK, Math, MATH, Rank Math. And Rank Math's free features exceed what Yoast had as a premium subscription, and Rank Math will actually show you how your blog's rating for SEO. It will say, put some more headlines in here, add some more images, you've got the word count right, or you need more words in. So it will actually guide you. And another really good thing, piece of software which you can actually try for free, is Surfer SEO. So Surfer as in wind surfing, and then SEO. And Surfer SEO is fantastic, because again, it'll tell you how many headlines you've got to have, how many times you've got to use this word, how many times you've got to use that word, your subheadings, the number of images, what length. And what that Surfer SEO does is it looks at the top 100 performing blogs in the world for that particular search term, and then gives you all the tools, and utilizing AI to help you outperform them, to write better than those, so that you're going to rank above that.
Brilliant. I haven't tried Surfer SEO yet. You mentioned it to me a while ago, but then I think I downloaded it and got confused, and then went back to my traditional.
But that Rank Math plugin, it's very similar to Surfer SEO, the new feature, which uses AI to help sort of verify that your blog is going to rank, and it's creating the right sort of content in relevance to the other top performing blogs that are on a similar subject. Because at the end of the day, if you write a blog, and that blog is showing up to get maybe 1,500 searches a month, and you start creating all these blogs, and you're writing, like Nina, if she's going to write 2 blogs a month, you could be actually starting from all different directions, building up basically a traffic library for your website. So this blog brings you in, 500 visits a month. This blog only brings you in 50, but this one brings you in 250. So as you get more and more blogs on your site, it's bringing just more and more total content, total visitors into your website. So it doesn't matter even if it's just get 20 or 30. That you only need one person to click through and make a purchase from that. It's all golden. It's all the content is like the currency of the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I think that's me pretty much done. Okay, so we covered this. So we talked about inbound and outbound links already. So I'm not going to talk about this too much. But yeah, I mean, your outbound links are obviously the links that are going from your site to somewhere else. Inbound links are basically internal sites going to other places within your website. I thought it's quite important to just make that clear, because I think sometimes it's a bit confusing to people. And I think that's me pretty much done, Jeff. Yeah, I've put together, just on the outs and on the off chance that anyone wants to try this and then runs out of time. I thought I would sort of do a quick offer for you.
Cool.
Because I thought I've said this kind of principle of doing your blog post in an hour. And you can do it. You can follow those principles that I've shown. But actually, I thought I can also offer you guys to write along with me, and we'll go through that whole exercise together and get a blog post written. So you kind of got me working with you on doing these searches, finding out what those keywords are, and the two of us will sit down together and get it all written. And so we'll basically get it planned, prepared, written out, and basically pretty much ready to publish. You might have to do a bit more work in deciding what your images are and that kind of thing. Basically get it to the point of being ready to publish within an hour. And I will also send a little questionnaire beforehand so that you can start getting some of the preparation work done. So I've just knocked that up, and it's basically, so we'll do that. It's £148. Normally, if you ask me to do a 1,000-word blog for you, the starting price is about 280, and it goes up from there. So this is a much more cost-effective way of doing it. So that's one thing that I thought I would mention. It just made sense for me to kind of create something that was in line with what we were talking about. I thought actually an hour would be quite fun for us to sit down, work, and then you actually learn the principles. I'm a big one of sort of monkey see, monkey do. Once you've seen somebody do something, it's so much easier to do it again yourself the next time.
No, that's brilliant, because if you're struggling with blogs, use the information that you've got here in today's webinar about thinking about the purpose of your blog, what your titles are going to be. Then, jump on board with Claire, get Claire to go through the whole structure, learn from it. And then it just means that you're starting to create content that is going to get found. It's going to get traffic over to your website. It's going to engage with your readers, and it's going to get more click-throughs, and it's going to get more sign-ups to your email list, because that's what you want. No blog is wasted, but for a blog to work, you need something from it. You need people to be signing up, people to be clicking through to your website, and relationships to be building. So you want to make sure you're doing it the right way. So it's a worthwhile investment to just get yourself, going in the right direction, so that the content you do create is to the right format. It's engaging. Claire will give you some tips on the creative copywriting and how to make it sound exciting and engaging, but she can't do it tomorrow because she's writing my blog tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I write it tomorrow. I promised him before we even started. I can do it next week.
So what's do you have your web address? How can people find you? You're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I've got so you can find me here. Oh no, hang on a sec, that's not really very relevant. So you can find me all over the place. Connect with me if you're not already connected with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. My website, I haven't actually put this special offer on there yet, but I can put a link to it on there for today. I can do that after this call, actually. But you can also email me the old-fashioned way. But basically, yeah, just connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook. If you fancy doing that, if you fancy doing the hour session with me, I'll just send the link over to you. But do connect with me if you've got any questions after the session as well. Anything that comes up, or even if you go and start doing this yourself, I'm quite happy to answer any questions if you come across any little stumbling blocks, or you just want a little bit of extra inspiration as well. So,
and Claire is genuinely one of the most helpful people I know. I mean, she's you went above and beyond with my first blog that you started on last month, and it was, you were forever tweaking it and saying, we should have this and we could do this, and you really committed to producing quality content, and you've proofread both my past books, altered them, give me some great feedback on it, so that when I am putting stuff out there, or even though yes, I've got the knowledge in my head, but I just sound a lot more professional than if Jeff had written it. So.
Well, it's sometimes it's also a second pair of eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really do believe that that's important especially when you're working with big, heavy bits of content, long bits. It's really difficult to catch everything yourself and to make sure and to come out with a different. Quite often you use quite technical, not you personally, but when I'm writing for myself or when somebody's writing for themselves, it's quite technical language, and you actually kind of need a little bit of more language for the common man.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me today, Jeff.
No, thank you. And obviously people have got a lot from it, and I would advise you drop Claire a connection request, hook up with Claire. If you do have any questions, drop her a message. She's super helpful. She's like me. She does these little voice messages as well. So which is really good, because it's much better than typing, and she can really help you. And if you do have any questions, please do drop them in the comments. You can rewatch this under my hashtag. Just go to Creating Successful Photographers on LinkedIn. I'll just bring it up here, and you can rewatch that again if you've just tuned in. And hopefully you found it useful, guys. If you do have any other questions at all, as I said, drop them in the comments. And look forward to getting another LinkedIn Live out for you, probably not next week, but the week after. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. Cheers. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now.